Hello and welcome to an ancient Minecraft video. Now I'm quite excited about this one. It's going to be a long one, so settle down, get yourself a snack or something, because it's going to take a while, and because it's going to take a while I'm going to talk and walk at the same time. I'm here in Durrington Walls. This is what they call the Southern Circle. I've just read a book that I got for Christmas about it, and I might have to come back and make some changes to Durrington Walls. I'm now coming onto the avenue. Now, that's very crunchy because it's all gravel. There is a theory that at the winter solstice, Durrington Walls probably wasn't lived in all year round. There's going to be a lot of probably and a lot of maybe in this, unfortunately, because nobody really knows. But the idea was Durrington Walls wasn't lived in all year round. People came here at the winter solstice, had a huge feast, lots of roast pork, they found the pig bones. And the theory is that Durrington Walls, back up there, by the way I've got shaders switched on so it looks nice. The theory is that Durrington Walls was a place of the living, and Stonehenge was a place of the dead, which kind of figures because they found, as I say, animal bones and evidence of eating at Durrington Walls, and evidence of life, people living, and at Stonehenge they found over 200 burials and no kind of charcoal circles from fires or anything, so it does oh no, I hate boats in Minecraft, round this way, round this way. So I'm probably going to crash several times because, obviously doing videos on boats is a really bad idea, especially with shaders switched on. And the theory is that because you've got an avenue, oh, that was nasty. Because I've got an avenue that goes from the southern circle down to the river, and because Stonehenge has an avenue that goes from the river, I'm just looking at my boat taking itself apart and putting itself back together there. That's really quite weird. Because Stonehenge has an avenue that leads from the river up to the stones, the theory is that this was the link between the two places, the river. Now, if you look at the map, Stonehenge is kind of a bit northwest of Durrington Walls. And to be fair, in real life, you can walk there in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But because this is Minecraft, and because the day only lasts 20 minutes, and because you walk faster than you do in real life in Minecraft, I have no idea how long it's going to take. But if you look at the map now, we're going southeast. We're actually heading away from Stonehenge. And I think that's quite significant because I think the feeling I get from doing all this is that almost like the journey is as important as the destination. I mean, if they say, my feeling is that at winter solstice, people came to Durrington Walls from all over the country. They came from Cornwall and Devon and the north of England. I should say we are in the Neolithic, as a previous attempt, there's a boat there. We are in that fuzzy area between the Neolithic and the early Bronze Age, about 2500 BC. We have to be quite specific because Durrington Walls was only in use probably for 40 or 50 years. And people brought their cattle and their pigs from all over the country to Durrington Walls for a big party. So kind of in my imagination and my interpretation, what just happened? Oh no, no, oh right, there's a boat over there, hold on a minute. If, say, your chief would have died, and let me just get right back into the river. If somebody important to you would have died, we know from places like Skara Brae that they mummified their ancestors, so you might have great-great-grandmother wrapped up in rags as a little mummified figure who would sit in the corner of your house. So it's quite conceivable they would have brought the wealthy or the powerful, or however you want to imagine them in early Bronze Age times, from all over the country, and they would have brought them to Stonehenge to be immortalised in stone. You see, we still think that now. We still think you have stone as for the dead, like you have gravestones and you have tombs, and we still think you have wood for the living. You even have a temporary wooden gravestone when somebody dies. So they would have brought them here. There would have been some ceremony or other that would have happened at the Southern Circle, and then the theory is, and it's only a theory because obviously nobody really knows much about this stuff, they then would have been loaded onto the boat, taken down the Avon, which we're now, unfortunately it's new moon tonight, so it's all really dark out there in the Minecraft world. Actually, it's quite peaceful, isn't it, just going down the boat at night. As I say, I don't know how long this would have taken in real life, because obviously, although I'm moving quite fast, the day's only, an entire 24-hour day only lasts 20 minutes in Minecraft, so it's not the most accurate it could be. But you can see from the map, I'm now heading due south, which means I'm heading basically away from Stonehenge. Okay, with shaders, that is really dark. We're just going to have to boat down here for a little bit and wait for the sun to come up. I'll keep looking at the map and making sure I don't miss anything. Um, in the last few years, certainly within the last 10 years as well, as you will see when we get there. Oh, that just dropped my frame rate. We they discovered a brand new henge, or stone circle I should say really, at the end of the avenue where it meets the river, so I've been building that in the last couple of days. I have to confess it was a bit, not quite a bodge. Is that an island coming up? Yes it is. Um, the more I've done this, the more I've realised that I kind of approximated when I built the entire landscape of Stonehenge in Minecraft. I kind of approximated from an Ordnance Survey map with a world builder program and a very large paintbrush and tried to get the contours right, but some of it didn't quite work right. And I had to annihilate a whole hill and turn it into a nicely gently sloping hill. So I had the right place to build Blue Stonehenge. This is very atmospheric with the islands and the moonlight. And you can see we're still heading southeast. And yeah, there's some weirdness in the river there. But you all know by now that water mechanics in Minecraft just really aren't good. I'm just concentrating a bit here while I try and steer my boat. I'm waiting for the sunrise really. So we're kind of coming a bit more around to the southeast. There's actually a huge loop of river. And like I say, this was not the most efficient way to go from Stonehenge to um, Durrington Walls, or to go from Durrington Walls to Stonehenge. It's not even the best way to get from the river back up to Stonehenge. Everything's kind of bendy and curvy. Yeah, you can see we're going around quite a tight corner here. And I was talking to my boys about it actually, and one of them said, well, maybe there was a sacred forest in the way. And, they weren't allowed to go through it. And I think, and I've broken my boat again. Oh, let me just swim to the, am I swimming? Yes, I'm swimming. I wonder what I hit actually. I didn't see anything in the way. That's third boat. Of course, boats at night in Minecraft, it's not going to go terribly well. Now you see, look, we've now come across the bottom here. We're going west. I'm just really waiting for the sun to come up, to be honest. And we'll just keep going this way. Yeah, he said maybe there was a sacred forest in the way, and they had to go around that. And I think in a way he was right. I think there was a really definite feeling. I'll just keep looking over that way to make sure I don't miss the stone circle. There's a really definite feeling that their relationship with the land, how they viewed the land, would have been different to ours. There would have been places where it wasn't appropriate to build a road or an avenue, and there would have been good places for a stone circle and good places to, graze sheep and raise food, and bad places. And all of that would be lost to us now with language and time, and also with the changing landscape. They might have had a particularly important grove of trees or a spring or something that's just no record of at all at the moment. Right, you can see the river is slowly coming around. Oh yeah, here we go. Now we're kind of... Actually, there's a really big island. I'm really hoping I haven't lost Blue Stonehenge, in which case I'm going to have to abandon this attempt and start again and actually practice it first. It's always a lot further than I think it is going by river. Yeah, I've set this at 2500 BC. As I say, I got a lovely book all about Stonehenge for Christmas. And the trouble is, most of what they know is about post holes, which, if you ever watch something like Time Team, all they're doing is they're digging a hole in the ground, like the archaeologists, a trench, and they suddenly find a circle of different coloured earth. and they know a post went in it. It's sometimes they can tell if it was wood or if it was stone, but quite often that's also pretty much guesswork or educated opinion. And unless they find like an antler pick or something they can date underneath it, they have to make a very educated guess about when exactly a post was put in there. So it's very hard. I mean, I can say yes, this is 2500 BC, but exactly what Stonehenge would have looked like then, exactly how the avenue would have looked, exactly what Durrington Walls was doing then, is quite hard to say. Unfortunately, when I read this book, I realised my image of Durrington Walls is quite different to how it should be. I'm getting lost. I'm just gonna get back out into the centre of the channel, or crash in the... Oh, boat number 4, come on. Right, let's just let some chunks load in, have a look at the map. We're coming through a wood. Right, boat number 4. Push it into the river, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, the way Durrington Walls would have looked would have been really quite different. I'm getting a bit worried here. To how I've imagined it, because I've kind of done it as a cross of buildings and tried to fill it in as a roughly circular village. And now it seems they think there were 2 avenues that went through the middle of it and divided it up roughly into quarters, so I'm going to have a think about that. And the next important thing to do is to build a ditch and bank around Durrington Walls, which is just one of those ridiculous Stone Age engineering projects. That again, it's kind of like, why did they do that? The ditches were 5 or 6 meters deep and up to nearly 20 meters wide at the top. And they didn't go in a nice neat circle, so it's almost impossible. I can't kind of do it by what's it called, world painter, where you just copy and paste and stack. None of that will work. It'll all have to be done sort of almost one click at a time. So that's my next big project on the horizon. So I'm still heading down here southeast. I'm just having a quick look. So both numbers are going up at the moment. I'm looking at my coordinates there. The 1600s is going up and the 1100s are going up as well. And I'm heading firmly southeast. But at least it looks like sunrise. We're to see where we are in a minute. Right, let's have a quick look at the waypoints. I've still got them. I haven't put one in for that. Oh, they're both positive. Okay, no, there's nothing we can do, just keep going, I guess. Lovely pink sunrise with the shaders switched on and everything. It's about time I had some hardware upgrade, because some things are kind of glitching in a bit, and I've got it set out to maximum render distance, which is a bit weird. Like those trees over there aren't really behaving, and just having a quick look to make sure I've not missed anything. Nope, I think we just have to keep powering on. Unfortunately, if I go too fast, I outrun the graphics card, which is a bit of a problem. I did well, I was going to say over Christmas, over winter solstice, which is the 2 or 3 days before Christmas. It was on the 21st this year. I did actually go down to Stonehenge, and as well as the loveliness of seeing Stonehenge, what is going on up here? Oh, this is going to be scary. Because at sunrise on winter solstice, you get to see Stonehenge without any barriers, and you can wander around and see the stones and everything, which was absolutely brilliant. But just being there in the Stonehenge landscape, which is what I've tried to recreate here, was just brilliant. We were lucky we got a hotel just 2 miles down the road at the service station. And just to be able to walk, well, we didn't actually get that much walking done, but just to know that like 2 miles that way was Durrington Walls, and then just over there was some barrows, and over there was Stonehenge. That really did seem to help. And it really kind of fixed in my mind how close together everything is. I mean, in Minecraft, everything is massive, and it feels like I've built something absolutely huge. Right, I think we're now going round the big loop of the river, and we should be coming up, hopefully soon, towards Blue Stonehenge. But yeah, just to kind of see how the whole landscape fitted together, and how close actually everything was. I mean, obviously it was built in a time, I think even before they had a wheel, so literally there would be no riding horses, everything was as fast as you could go by walking. And it would have been possible to, live at Durrington Walls and walk over and put some stones up and walk home. Obviously, it would have taken them years to get all the stones sorted and everything, but that whole thing, it's a walkable landscape, I think. I mean, obviously, like I say, in Minecraft, because the speed you move at is different and the day only lasts um, 20 minutes, so it feels a bit different in Minecraft. But in real life, it is an easily walkable landscape that you can kind of move around. Okay, I probably should have planned this better, because this is taking a long time. Um, yeah, see, we're now heading north and northwest, which means we're actually coming around and a bit closer to where we want to be. If you look at the little map up in the top right hand corner, we're actually slowly getting there. Yeah, so I suppose in like early Bronze Age, late Neolithic times, this would have been a spiritual journey. It probably wouldn't have just been me on my own in my boat. Oh yeah, this is good. So I actually had to extend the landscape, that's why there's that funny straight line there, in order to fit in the loop of the river that goes south. So yeah, I mean, I actually went and walked around on the avenue as well as seeing Stonehenge while I was down there. And the avenue, if you were all standing comfortably shoulder to shoulder, you could walk 15 or 20 people side by side up there. It's a really big piece of engineering. So I don't think it would have just been one person in a boat just sailing up the river. I think there would have been maybe a small flotilla of boats. Like I say, I think they would have moved maybe the dead bodies, maybe mummified bodies, maybe just bones. They were quite keen on bones in Neolithic times and Bronze Age times. But they would have moved them all up river and up to Stonehenge. It would have been a symbolic journey to say, well, now you're dead. You're moving from the temporary world of wood and huts and livestock and cattle and pigs into the permanent world of stones and ditches and banks and permanent things. Yep, we are still going northwest. This is a much longer journey than I anticipated, I must admit. I wonder why my boat keeps falling apart like that anyway. It's probably due to all the shaders I've got on. This is a nice straight bit of river. I'll just keep my finger on W and keep going. But yeah, it was really lovely because I'm in Britain and obviously Stonehenge is. I actually, for the first time in probably about 5 years, I got some really nice photographs of the sunset at Stonehenge. Because quite often you turn up there ready for the sunset, and of course, being Britain, it's cloudy and maybe a bit rainy, and instead of, big orange ball of fire dipping into the middle of the stones, everything just goes a bit grey. Oh, look at those water mechanics. That's really not working. Anyway, I'll just keep looking at the map. Unfortunately, I didn't set a waypoint for where I'm actually heading, and I've switched off all the waypoints to make it just a bit more kind of authentic. So, I was going to say in Stone Age, Neolithic, Early Bronze Age times, you would just, have a sense that you knew roughly where you were going. Ah, ha ha ha. Here we go. And I've broken my fourth boat. That was a really smooth landing. Right, here we are. That was a long journey, but here we are. Now, so land part of our journey, this is Blue Stonehenge. It's a very simple henge, actually. I read that they only put a ditch and bank around it after they took the bluestones away. So presumably some kind of ceremony would be carried out here. In actual fact, there were probably about 24 stones in a 10-meter circle, but I'm kind of limited by what I can do, obviously with the 1-meter blocks in Minecraft, so that's my attempt. This is the hill that I completely reshaped. You can see it looks a bit blocky. And this is the beginning of the avenue. And it goes up the hill here. If we turn around and look, the reason I used lapis lazuli blocks is because there are two main types of stone used at Stonehenge. There is the massive sartans that everybody knows, the big grey ones are absolutely huge. I'm just going to run down this hill. Yeah! Because we've got a lot of avenue to get along. There are the massive grey sartans that are huge, like the trilithons that are 7 meters high. And they're made from sarsen stone that came from Marlborough Downs, actually, just about 30 miles. Just about 30 miles. They're still very big stones to move 30 miles without any wheels. And now we've got another hill I'll run. And then the other stones are what are called the blue stones, which is why I've used lapis lazuli ore. They don't actually look blue in real life. Apparently you have to get them wet, and you can see very faint blue tinges. It's probably one of those things the geologists can spot, and you would never notice. But because they're called blue stones... Yeah, I'm not convinced how much my landscape is accurate, by the way. I'm not sure the avenue actually goes over this many steep hills. I think I may have made a few mistakes along the way. Oh. And I'm actually stuck on the avenue. I need to go and reshape it. Is it just my headphones, or was that really loud? You know what, I'm just gonna... Yeah, that needs some reshaping. I'll come back to that later and sort that out. Yeah, so the smaller stones, which still stand, you know, a good 2-3 meters tall, taller than me, certainly, are called Welsh bluestones. And they actually came from West Wales. They've travelled over 200 miles to get to Stonehenge. And where we got off the boat, is a place called Blue Stonehenge, which had some bluestones in it. And they think at some point, again, guesswork, well not guesswork, it's a theory that they dismantled that stone circle that's now behind me, and used some of the stones in Stonehenge. We're now onto a nice flat bit of avenue so we can get a move on. Look at that. And this is actually what they did. It just goes straight across the landscape. Oh, we're starting to get some render distance in now, aren't we? There we go. And yeah, there's another problem with Minecraft is that when you're there and you stand at Stonehenge, you can see the ridges and you can see the barrows and you can see the avenue stretching off into the distance. And actually Minecraft quite struggles to give you that much render distance, even with... I've got quite a good graphics card now. Not the best, but it's quite a good one. And yeah, here you see I'm running and you can actually see it patching in, whereas in real life you would see this stretching away for miles and miles in front of you. The whole avenue itself is about 3 kilometers long, I think. So it's about 1.5 miles long. Which again would, you know, it's be a good half hour, 45 minutes walk. But obviously we're in Minecraft, so everything's a bit different. I must admit, I kind of ran out of time because I wanted to do this at least vaguely near the winter solstice. So at some point we'll get to a waypoint where I'm actually still putting in some of the ditches along the side, because like everything, this was a ditch and bank system. And I really ought to chuck some buckets of water down and get rid of some of these tall grass as well to make it more look like a processional avenue. So yeah, this would have been a very long journey to go all the way round. And like I say, on the map, it's really quick. This is by far and away the longest possible approach to Stonehenge. In some way they had to do it this way so that the sunset would line up properly. Because the idea would be that if you did this at winter solstice, as you finished your journey and you were coming up the hill towards Stonehenge, you would see the sunset come into the stones and actually be framed by the trilithons and the top of the sarsen ring. Yeah, you can see now we've got the trench starting on one side and the whole thing kind of curves around. It kind of goes round in a huge curve. And then it goes, I think it goes straight a bit, and then it turns up towards Stonehenge finally. But I mean, this is our second full night now, so this was one of the biggest Minecraft circles I think I've ever done. It took a lot of work, and I've had to find a circle generator that could actually cope with it. But I think it looks quite good on the map, and it's quite kind of natural now. It's kind of just, you don't really notice it turning. It's a very big, gentle curve. And it's like that on the ground as well. I'm not sure, not much of the avenue survives because this is all prime farmland, so a lot of the banks were ploughed out and flattened, and sheep and cattle were raised here, so you know, not much of it survives on the ground. Obviously with, like, you know, ground penetrating radar and geophysics, they can find out where a lot of it went, but oh, haha. Yeah, that's my mistake. Well, not a mistake, that's me kind of leaving markers out so I could see roughly where I was. So that's when I was building the avenue, I had something to aim towards. Which I suppose actually there could have been something like that in Neolithic times, is towers and things with torches on them. Now, this ridge I'm coming up here has, see, we're going up quite a steep ridge, and if we look on the map. Now, over to my left, over here on the ridge, and over there on the right, each side of it, were New King and Old King barrows. Nobody knows what date. They were probably building them about this date across this ridge. And if you go right and follow the line of barrows as it bends around, then eventually you come to our old friend the Cursus. So it kind of links up with the very first thing they built, which by now the Cursus would have been at least 500 years old, if not 1,000 years old. So for them the Cursus was something from like Shakespeare's time, or even a bit older. So, you know, it was definitely part of their culture, but it was not, you know, not like looking at, I don't know, London Eye. You know, it's not something recent, it's something that their generations and generations ago would have built. And it's obviously still relevant to them because there's this very straight link between the avenue, up a line of barrows, up to a barrow, which is at the end of the Cursus. It's probably another one of my next jobs to put in, is to put in a lot more barrows, because the whole area around Stonehenge was full of barrows. Right, and we're still going down the avenue. Look at this. This is actually what it's like in real life. It's absolutely massive. It's really wide. It's really obviously a processional route. And if you had a procession, you know, you could have 10, 15 people comfortably walking abreast. As I say, the whole thing's a couple of miles long, so it would be a good, at least a half-hour walk. You know, maybe a bit more if you're going in a nice slow procession. As you can see, I'm running down it because we've got a lot of distance to cover. Look at that, straight line right across the map. I think I'll put a few wobbles and wiggles in it here and there to make it a bit more authentic. Yeah, here we go, here's some wiggly bits, because the width of it seemed to change up and down depending on whereabouts it was. I'm just looking for the elbow in it now. There's a kind of very distinct bend. And that really is the whole point of the exercise, that bend, when we get to it, because that angles us up so that we approach Stonehenge on exactly the right alignment so that we can watch the sunset. So I suppose actually thinking about it, before they built all of this, they must have spent a lot of time pacing out the landscape, probably using sticks and ropes, marking out roughly where it was going to go, even just telling people this isn't just the work of one person, this is like the work of one person who could organise gangs and gangs of people, and would have told people, you know, you've got to dig a ditch here, you've got to, you know, pile up the chalk out of the ditch there to make banks, we want it to go so many thousand metres in this direction and we want it to turn here. Here we go. So now this is it. This is, if you stuck with me this long, well done. This is the big prize. Now we're turning round, and now I'll just wait for the sun to come up. When the sun comes up, we should be able to see our destination in the distance. So say from Stonehenge, you can clearly see, pretty much from where I was talking about the barrows, you can see that ridge from Stonehenge. So in a way, we're a bit hampered by having, you know, I've got my shaders on and my render distance set up. If I pause a minute, will it? Yes, it's still filling in stuff. But in a minute you should be able to see Stonehenge appearing on the horizon, and that's what we're heading towards. Unfortunately, we're heading there at sunrise, not sunset, because, as I say, it's very hard to predict with the time in Minecraft. I'll just quickly press X. Yep, we've got one hill, and then I think we go... Oh yeah, look, you can... Hold on, if I go back a minute... I know I shouldn't go backwards, because we've got a lot of ground to cover. Can you just see something on the horizon there? Have a quick look at the map. Can't see it on the map. No, not yet, no. Obviously you couldn't just fly in Stone Age times, but this is Minecraft. So we've got one last dip, and then I think we kind of come up the hill and we finally get to Stonehenge. I think one of the other things I want to do is a video showing all the different phases of Stonehenge, because people go there now and they see this big jumble of stones and they think, wow, it's a ruined stone circle. What they don't realise is that for, here we go, at least 1,800 years, they were constantly editing Stonehenge. So it's like if you went to look at a Roman amphitheatre or a palace that's around today, but instead of it just being like lines in the ground, it's something that they've been constantly changing. That's how Stonehenge would have been to them when they finished it. So it's kind of incomprehensible. That's the heel stone, by the way. And then we come up here and there are... I'm just going to do a time set 0 so you can see. So we've got the heel stone there, which probably had a partner. Again, it's a probably maybe. But you see, when I was stood there a week ago, you could actually see the avenue turning, and actually somewhere over there you could see the ridge with the barrows on it, and Minecraft just won't quite play that well. Here's the ditch and bank, which are looking far more impressive here than they ever did in real life. There's a stone that was there. I think that's a slaughter stone, actually. Let's go around it clockwise, it's always more nicer. Now around the edge here, if you actually look when you go and visit Stonehenge, there are a couple of markers for these Aubrey holes. Now these are called the station stones. Oh, don't do that. And there's two over here, and if you look at a map, there's another two almost directly opposite around the circle. And they kind of mark out a rectangle. And people have all sorts of theories. Some people think they're a lunar alignment, which kind of works for me. They mark out a weird 18.6 year cycle of the moon. Some people think they kind of almost predate Pythagoras and work out a 5, 12, 13 triangle. They kind of make a rectangle, but without knowing why they were put there and why they were put on these little pads that were built out, we can't really answer that. Anyway, we come in past the heel and the slaughter stones, and then if you look, we've got an incomplete circle of double ring, double C shape of bluestones, which is quite weird because you kind of feel like they're all focusing in on you when you get to here. Anyway, well done if you stuck it out this far. This is what might have happened in 2500 BC. It's very hard to tell. It might have happened, well, 4,500 years ago. It's the journey they would have taken. As you can tell, if I go into waypoints, and if I switch on Durrington Walls, and oh no, if I switch on Durrington Walls and I take the distance out, you can see there already before I've even clicked done. Durrington Walls is only 3.6 kilometers away, which is only a couple of miles away really. So we have not come the quickest and easiest way into Stonehenge. We've taken a kind of religious way, if you like, into Stonehenge. So I'm just going to fly up so you can see the whole pattern. And as always, I'm going to say I can just about see the elbow there. You can just about see the avenue turning off. Thank you ever so much for listening. I know it's been a long one. As I say, I've been waiting probably about 2 years to do this because I read about it a couple of years ago. Well, I read about it a long time ago actually, that there was this theory that they went from Durrington Walls to Stonehenge by avenue and river. And then when I started playing with Minecraft and realised that I could build Stonehenge in Minecraft, I always wondered what the actual journey would look like, what the experience would be like. And I think the answer is that it would be very long. And, oh, look at that, it's just not chunking in at all, is it? And that's really horrible. I'm just going to sort that out. Yeah, it would take a really long time. Let's force it to reload. And it would really, if you wanted to go from Durrington Walls to Stonehenge, you could do it, but that's not what it was about. It was about making a long journey, almost a pilgrimage, I suppose. And presumably there's other sites along the way that we probably haven't found yet, probably other stopping places, maybe like stations where people would stop and do something. Anyway, this is a very long video, and I've talked long enough, so I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you ever so much for listening, especially if you stayed with it. Please like, comment, share, etc. As I say, this is quite an important video to me, so I'd love a bit of feedback. And yes, please like my page, and I'll see you next time. Bye.